Okay. It says it's on. We'll see how long it goes, how it works. If there's any problems with it, yeah, hey, we're live. Figured that one out. If anyone wants to jump in, just shoot me a message and I'll, email you. But we'll see how fast it is, how stable it is. We're gonna just run this for a little while, because I'm using different settings this time. So let's just let this run for a little while and go from there. All right. So in the meantime, yeah, just kick back and relax and hang out if you want to. You don't have to. I don't care. Not my problem. I'm just trying to see if this will work because I've been having problems with what I've got, and I'm trying something new. So, again, we'll see if it works or not. So just let it run. Again, if you want to hop in, I'll give you a link. Just shoot me a message or email or whatnot. So, yep, GunTube live streaming. Woo! Let me see if G's on gun channels. Maybe we can get him in here. But if this works well, then I may have found a good solution. So, and that will help configuring everything. I mean everything. But again, if it doesn't work, well then, shit, it doesn't work. So. Huh. Users may experience issues. Great. Well, there's that. There goes that. I was hoping it would work. Oh well. Anyways, well, again, we're just going to keep this running. I'm going to turn my AC on because it's getting too hot in here. So, sorry about that. Goes to green and then to yellow as far as stream health. And that's not good. So this is going to be this won't be any solution. Damn it. You didn't hear me say that. Anyways, so let's see who's on Matt's Discord. Keep anybody on Discord. No. Oh wow, Tara Smith has a whole rant. Man. Anybody else live on YouTube right now other than me? Surprised no one is. So, yeah. Darn it. Keeps going to green and yellow. Oh.
It's all about those Benjamins. And when you're talking about partisan politics, when you talk
What are you listening to?
a third party or a fourth party, let's say the Greens, and if it's tied to a party, it's money.
Clover being all weird.
Oh, Clover's being all weird. Oh. Okay.
Why do you got that robot out here?
What do you mean robot?
Some robot said you're live.
Some robot said I was live. Am I live?
You didn't hear that?
Nope. But if some robot says we're live, we're live.
You didn't hear that?
Oh, that one. Yes. I heard that when I started. Yeah, they updated the software to where whenever you join a live stream, it'll let you know that you're live. I think it's a little annoying personally. I'll try and figure out how to turn that off. But, it gives you a warning at least. So. Anyways, I'm testing out using alternative methods right now. Seeing how well it works and if it's working well enough or if I have to go with a different option.
Where is this live at?
On GunTube's YouTube channel. So, I don't know how well the stream is, but the server I'm using to go and stream to YouTube isn't a normal GunTube server. So, I'm testing out the some alternative hardware. And if it works, great. If it doesn't work, well then, cancel it. Go with something else. So. Anyways, what's going on with you?
Wait, is this muted or is this muted?
That's muted.
I'm just trying to figure out what I'm doing here. I've got 3 different things I'm juggling, trying to figure out what's happening this evening.
Okay, that's perfectly reasonable. So.
Now you can just leave this run for how long?
I don't know, quite honestly. I wouldn't try 8 hours, but probably it should. If this one works as well as I'm hoping it does, it may run, an hour or 2. It may run, 4 hours. I don't know. Because the server I'm using to stream to YouTube is different than the server we're on. Because how it's set up, one server is where all the chat rooms are in, and then another server takes all the video and audio and streams it to YouTube. So that's how it's set up. And if I want multiple chat rooms to stream to YouTube, that means I have to have multiple servers to do that. And apparently, that's how YouTube was doing it. They were just
like YouTube.
They were just using their own proprietary software. We're using open source software.
So you're like, if YouTube couldn't afford to do it, that's what I'm going to do.
I don't know. I'm going to try it out. We're going to see if we can get it, viable. And if it's not, then, we'll find something else. I just don't think YouTube wanted the hassle. Or they were playing favorites. Like if we have to host more live streams that are conservative, then we don't want to give them the tools to do it. Who knows? So, who else is online? Hope it's not buffering too bad on YouTube.
Is there still a way to send a message on YouTube anymore?
I don't know. Messages on YouTube will be going away after September 18th, 2019. Well, thanks, YouTube, for screwing us over once again.
Whatever. So, I don't even know where they're at.
You don't even know where what?
Where you send a message.
Oh, here. I'll show you. Let me screen share. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's on the left-hand side of the bell where the bubble is. You select someone you've added as a friend, and then you just send them a message. So he's probably asleep. You don't have any internet. I know. They have this message thing, so. Anyways.
Send Honda a link. Send Honda a link right there.
Is he awake still?
Doesn't matter. I want to see how you send the message. What'd you do? Just click on their name?
Yep.
No, I clicked on their name and it didn't do that.
Are you friends with him?
Brought me to comments. I don't know if I'm fucking friends with them. Fucking YouTube.
If you're not friends with him, then it won't work. So, but they're getting rid of it anyway, so there's no point in using it.
I don't know how you make friends on YouTube.
Well, you used to be able to, add a person as a friend or something. You go to friends here, to show you who your friends are. And I guess, I don't know. But at this point, it doesn't matter, so. At least the server's been stable. It hasn't turned off. So. So Clover Tech is getting ready to do the whole thing this week. So
What whole
work?
What whole thing?
I think he's going to do that telethon on Friday for so it can help him get to where he needs to go. You're muted, by the way. So.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I'm polite, and that's how you are when you're polite.
Okay.
It's not
Just making
telling
sure.
you anywhere.
Yeah. So they've updated it. So when it live streams, it's showing the not the tile view, but the other view, where whoever's talking is priority. But instead of YouTube, where the people would be on the bottom, they're on the side. Don't know how to fix that. Maybe I can't fix that.
You're not coordinating or whatever how that's showing up on the screen. It's just doing it.
It's just doing it. Yeah.
What if I do this?
What if I do this?
I don't know.
It just happened for me, I guess.
All right. Well, that'll be another thing to figure out. But Ozzy's out there. How's it going, Ozzy? Sound coming in all right, Ozzy? Let us know, all right? Because I'm testing the server out. Oh boy. Let's see where the Indiegogo's at. All right, so that's where the Indiegogo's at. That's pretty good. I'm happy with that. Okay, they're saying the sound is fine. Okay, thanks, guys. It's not buffering too much for you, is it? No, it seems to be working. Hey, if it works, it works. All right, that's good. That is good. That is.
How would they know the buffer? You got to do something like type the number 1 as soon as possible. Let's type the number 1.
Type the number 1 as soon as possible.
See, there's
the lag. There it is. There
Boom.
It is. You're right. You're right. But you do realize we're going to have a 15-second lag regardless, right?
I don't know.
It's just the way the internet works.
What do you mean just the way the internet works?
There's gonna,
fuck. to the internet,
Okay,
it's going to be
remember, the internet is not a
lag.
series of trucks. It's a series of tubes, okay? And it's got to get from one end of the tube to the other, where the other person is. So it's going to take a while.
Yeah, a lot of those tubes, though, are in U shapes or in circles. So what happens is they don't just fill like a straw where you got to suck from one end and have that whole tube of material get sucked by that suction. A lot of times they're in circles, so you only got to get them like halfway filled, and then they fill the other way themselves.
Okay, I can see that.
All right, well, so you've got, according to the information I see on my screen, 5 days. Have you put out any press releases? Have you been a guest on popular shows and radio shows?
I have not. Who has joined us?
Where?
We have another individual.
I've been giving out the link to pretty much anybody.
Okay, that's fine. I haven't done any press releases so far, other than just updating social media that we've got 7 days left. We got 5 days left. We're halfway to our goal. Just the normal stuff.
What's up?
Ah, it's Clover. Oh, hi Clover. How's it going? So we're streaming on GunTube right now.
Cool.
So, and this is where we're at with the.
He's got about a 180. He's got a 253 down and a 33 kbps up. He's got a 0% packet loss and 108 ms E2E writ.
Something like that, yeah.
Coming in about 320 by 180 resolution.
Yeah, I got a bunch of gigawatts and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Hover over the little green thing next to whoever. Get all these numbers.
Yeah, I don't know if you want me to keep that or get rid of that. That just shows, what your connection is to the server.
I'd leave it because for people that aren't idiots, they can look at that and go, "Oh, that's why I can't hear shit," or "Oh, that's why they can't hear me." Right.
Right. So,
and then if somebody doesn't know, you can hover over theirs and go, "Hey, you know why we can't hear you? Because your up is 1. Everybody else's up is 200." I think that's. I don't know why YouTube never put that in there, because they hate us. Because even though they could easily have done it and we deserve it and we're entitled to it, they kept it from us.
I think it's more along the lines that they didn't want to have to, do any extra work or help anyone out.
Mine's fluxing really bad. And it's not near what it should be as opposed to my actual bandwidth.
Well, you do know that the server that we're on that we're chatting on is in North Carolina.
Okay.
Okay, so it has to travel over to North Carolina.
That's great, but I can go to freaking Juneau, Alaska, and download at 87 megabits a second and upload that fast. So obviously, we're being throttled by the capacity of the server, or the bandwidth of the server, or the split across the load, or something.
Probably the server, because it's a gigabit server. It's a 1 gigabit server. It's not a 10 gigabit server.
So it's got one for everybody. Is what you're saying, basically.
Yeah, look at mine. It goes. You guys are up both at Clover goes from 150 to 30. You're at 150 and 30.
You're up is.
I'm at 1,000, and then whatever. So it's not consistent for all of us. So I don't know what that is.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, see, you're up now. That's crazy. That's what my up should be, you would think.
Yeah.
And that's not good up. I usually have a medium to shitty up and a decent down, right?
Yeah.
So you don't know, but that's normally I don't have good up. I have a cable, so up, unless there's no kids playing at cable tonight, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so now I was just asking Night Strike about the campaign or whatever, and then when you jumped in or whatever, I was just looking at your, because it is neat. I like this, this system, and you don't have to. You're saying you can't control who's on the screen anyway. Like Night Strike, even though he's running this, he can't force you on the screen or anything, right?
I can, but I've got it set to follow.
Well, you just fucking said you couldn't do it. So he was just bitching and like, oh, you can't tell whoever I want to be on the screen. And I was like, oh, well, that's annoying. But it's better than Duck then, where if whoever starts it in Duck and then it's out, you do your live thing and it's over and it's an off air, it's worthless, right? Whoever the 6-5 people are, whoever it is minus the guy who leaves, like those 5 people are the only 5 people that can talk the rest of the night. And if somebody drops out for some reason, now it's 4 people, right? Like the Duck is pointless off air. So if this will just go, it doesn't matter, and you can just join and continue sending the link, then this alone is valuable compared to Duck. Problem is it would kill your server, right? Have like 12 of these going all night long, even off air.
I mean, if it's on a decent enough server, if people just want to log in and chat, they're more than welcome to, and they don't have to be connected live to do it. So,
but it's your server, so.
Well, it's GunTube server.
Right.
So you don't have to worry about someone kicking someone off unless, and they have an inappropriate room name, and I have to, go click the delete button and the ban button.
Here, don't say any secrets.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this, and then I'll do this, and then I'll do this, and then I'll do this. So now everybody out there can see what I'm talking about. So now when I click on Clover, I can see his up and down gigabit bits, and I can see his packet losses and his E2E Reddits. And I can go over to Night Strike and look at his E2E Reddits and whatever packet up and down kibits. And then my kibits are over here and my 0 packet losses and shit. So that's what we got that other shittier platforms didn't have. That's what we were talking about.
Well. So.
All right, so 5 days left, and I was asking you basically when we got distracted there. I was asking, what's my shit yellow now? Oh, see, my connection went down and it turned to yellow, right while I was talking.
You went down to red, and then you went back up to yellow, and now you're back up to green.
Huh. So Night Strike's over there with some sort of a tunable knob where he's screwing with my levels. But
internet vampire or something.
5 days
Bandwidth vampire.
Have you been like sending out like, hey, this is a campaign that I'm doing and it's got so many days left, and let me be on your show and talk about it?
I haven't done that because, quite honestly, I'm not quite sure how well this is going to work until I get it set up on, main servers, okay, on the servers as soon as the campaign is done. So I haven't done that quite yet, but you're right, I probably should. I have been on other people's shows, everybody's also done a promotional video for me for the campaign, and that's helped. And it's a bunch of the guys that are supporting the campaign, as well as like GunTube. So as far as that, I don't know. I've emailed Yankee a couple times. I guess he's too busy with what's going on with him, and maybe it's probably best that I not bother him because his Indiegogo campaign got squelched the other day. I'm not too sure if I get more attention that the same person would do the same thing to me.
I don't think so.
And yours was, you're talking about 2 different things, I thought. Wasn't the Yankees gun thing for Patreon?
that was something entirely different. I was just trying to get some publicity.
Trying to get Yankee to give you publicity for the GunTube.
Yeah, so we could run the chamber. Yeah.
Yeah, so that wouldn't have anything to do with whatever that Yankee got in trouble for it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So.
Of course, trying to get Yankee to do something, you could be waiting a very long time if you just sat around waiting for him to do something. Constantly bug on him 100%.
Well, I don't want him to get pissed off at me. That's just it. Because me and Yankee are not the best of. We're not BFFs. So.
I don't think anybody is with him. I don't think it's anything new.
You think everybody in the world only does business with their BFFs?
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Anyway. I always watch Clover's shitty video that before your Instagram thing that you cram.
Right. I mean, it's all vertical. You're mad because it's vertical and whatever.
Why can't you turn it sideways?
Like, I'm going to use a phone. I'm going to use a phone because it's on Instagram. So you're like, I'm going to use a phone like a youngin', and then I'm going to cram it on YouTube like an old man. And then you got to sit there listen to him like talk shit about body armor. Like, I don't understand why body armor is legal. I don't even know why this. I'm just summarizing it. He said something like, I don't even know why this shit should be legal. And then I forget what else he got into, and then I was like, what the fuck is this? I don't even know what I'm listening to. I think he's just trying to be some sort of controversial or something. But anyway, I was watching it, and I'm like, what I miss is the conversations because this sucks butt. Like having to just watch somebody say stuff, especially like that, where you had some audience who's like willing to watch on their phones. A bunch of communists, and then you're talking to them because it was live. Sure. But then you're watching it after the fact, and you're like going, like, I don't think there should be body armor. Like, what possible lead? And then you're like, and I'm going to ask everybody in the audience, and everybody's like, I hate body armor also. So you're like, there's overwhelming evidence there should be no body armor, and then you just move on, and it's like ultimately frustrating watching that because. I know that's 8 months ago. This could have been like a conversation,
right?
Okay.
So like there are no conversations.
Stop body armor shaming Clovertac, all right?
I'm fucking just saying what was in the video.
If he was really hip with the kids and he wanted to get his message out there, he would not mess with Instagram. He'd be using the Snapchats.
Oh yeah, well that's probably true. Yeah.
If you really wanted to get the kids into it,
Depends on what age kids or something. I don't know.
Right, okay, we're going to get off that topic because that's a slippery slope right there.
No, I'm curious though because the same way that Instagram and memes have opportunity to reach a generation that's more familiar with that platform, I think we've got some potential on Snapchat to do like basically like a GIF or whatever, like a moving meme, and to juxtapose like some shit like Trump saying whatever your 8-year war and your Second Amendment is over, and then slice it, edit it to something current where he's just attacking, infringing the shit out of it. And I think that stuff gets through to the youngins. And everything I've been doing a lot of research on the generations lately, and everything I've been doing research, this new generation, the new generation that's going to be voting, is they're smart and they're paying attention to this stuff, and they do use these platforms, but as tools. Like they're totally aware of these things. Like, can you imagine? I don't think we can. Maybe Clover because he's got grandkids or whatever. But there's kids that have never. They don't know life without a smartphone, not just a telephone with a cell phone, but like a freaking touchscreen smartphone. They have never lived without Amazon and Netflix. Like everything they ever want is finger wiggles and a little bit of time away. Like that's an amazing situation to live in, and I don't think we're giving them enough credit. And there's a a generation of millennials that screwed it all up for everybody, and they're big, and they're going to screw it all up. But the generation after them gets credit for that, or gets their same attitude, and I don't think it's deserved.
Remember, I'm technically the last generation that remembers a time before the internet, and that remembers, what it was like before we had computers, the internet, cell phones, and like cable TV. I'm like the last generation that remembers that.
Yeah, that was one of the things as I've been saying. I've been like researching this. I've been like looking at it from different angles, and that is one of the angles that people will look at them. Like they'll look at generations like this is the generation that got TV. This is the generation that read newspapers. Like this, like you're saying, like this generation that, well, whatever. We all got our different things.
This generation got radios.
But I'm saying like you can. Once you start kind of just not just being aware of like seeing it in an article or hearing it in a conversation, but like going through and organizing it and putting it all down, it starts to create not so much a pattern, and it's not like it's any revelation, but once you kind of map out the generations, and then now I'm starting to apply what we call like population numbers to it and percentages of the voting numbers to it. It's interesting to see. And yes, I think that I'm still optimistic, but I think that the methods that we've been using basically up till now, up to now, what we've been doing has been to interact with the older set of voting population. And I don't think there's any point to continuing that. I think that in going forward, 2020 on, going towards the kids and doing things so that it's efficient and useful for the kids version of gaining information is going to be more valid and useful and whatever than the old stuff, than the old ways. And I think that's neat because that means that a lot of the old time established stuff is going to fail in the same way that old media started to fail. The magazine started to fail when a YouTuber could come along and say, hey, you know what, you're going to spend tens of thousands of dollars on a write-up in a magazine, and you're going to come out with this product, earlier in the year when the trade shows or whatever happen, and then you're going to pay tens of thousands of dollars. You're going to get some photographs, and you're going to get a write-up from used to be famous name in the industry in a magazine that'll come out on newsstands in August or in July, right in the middle of the year when nobody's really even buying anything. Or you can pay a couple of more thousands of dollars and have that article come out at Thanksgiving or Christmas when people are going to be hot to buy stuff, right? So that's like the old way of doing it. And now you could say, hey, you got a new product coming out, give me just a 10,000 or a couple of tens of thousands of dollars, and I'll have, fill in the blank. We all know how the internet took over old media. Well, the same way that transition happened, and I think a lot of people have studied that and been aware of it or whatever. There's people that have dissected that and have taken, that's repeatable now. Like it's not difficult, really. It just takes time and effort to create a successful channel on the established media platforms. And I think that's the indication of the end of them. I mean, I've been singing that song for a long time now, but I think that just falls into another indication that the old platforms are dying. When there's a repeatable recipe, then that tells you that it's failing. I mean, if there's something that you can do that's going to be successful, then everybody's going to figure out what to do, and it's just going to destroy that whole concept, right? Like just everything becomes like it just there's too much, and it's boring, and it's established, and everybody's just repeating the same old thing. And that's happening. If you watch, I've been looking around on the internet more outside of guns, and it's happening. It's just completely turning vanilla, boring. Everybody's following the same recipe. And as the new generations, again, as they become a third and then a half of the voting influence in our country, we're not going to reach them with what Hickok used to get to where he is on YouTube. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's what I've been. So I'm looking at this this kind of concept as being good, and I miss the conversations because shit.
Right. So, well, you know, the conversations. Technically, you could do that on Discord. Now, you're not that into Discord. You're not hip with Discord.
Well, like you just said, though, you had to clarify it with technically, because of course you can do the conversations with fucking carrier pigeon, but are they useful, effective? Are they recorded? Are they archived anywhere? They're the opposite. They're hidden and they disappear. So there's not, unless someone has taken the additional step of archiving everything valid that happens in there. Now, if that happens, I'm fucking wrong, and Discord is valid, but that doesn't happen. Nobody hardly would do anything except that YouTube automatically turns our stuff into archive videos, and barely people. I mean, how many chats has Clover had about tagging your stuff, and people still don't tag. People barely put it into playlists and barely title stuff. I still see stuff titled show number 47. Like, what? Like, how you expect anybody to know what it is, let alone the robots that put everything on shelves on the internet?
Right. I think the robots that put things on the shelves on the internet is a linchpin, is a key, regardless of platform or whatever. And you're talking about the archiving, and I think that's where a lot of the archiving can come into play. I mean, particularly if you've got your own little slice of the internet and a website set aside, right?
Yep.
Even things that platforms your own that don't archive, you can take those thoughts and those conversations and whatever the word is, transpose whatever those over to your website, and then there will always be, I think, spiders and crawlers and whizzly doos that are able to scour what's out there, what's on the internet. Now, in what manifestation that's in is up for grabs, and will change with time. But I think that you'll potentially have a cocktail in the future where it'll be more Snapchat, Discord, more things that are not really permanent. But you will have people that will be seeking permanent information. So, and how are they going to do that? They're going to do that through some type of internet search, web search, maybe internet too, maybe who knows what it is at that time. But I think making sure that your stuff is set up for the current status quo or the way things work, I think is important, because you've got legacy capability built in. I mean, how many websites can you pull up from, let's say, Google that are 20 years old or older? I mean, quite a few.
Yep, I don't disagree. And on top of it, the platforms, they're not throwing away nothing. They definitely have it. Whether or not they'll make it available is just a factor of economy of storage and economy of bandwidth, and all that's going to get easier and bigger and smaller and cheaper and everything else, right? So I don't see any reason why you can't expect that the platforms will be either transparent or open or archived or whatever the words will be to the future. And even if they are or they aren't, having your own website indexing your pieces in your playlist or your filter or your category list for whatever specific thing you're doing, that's all valid and additionally useful. Again, if those platforms exist or not, having the description, the link, and the tags to a video is still 80% of the game, even if the video isn't there, when we're talking 6 years into the future or 16 years into the future, at least historically. And going forward, again, we don't know what the internet's going to be, other than I can't imagine it's not going to be bigger, faster, and easier to deal with. So, yeah, potentially all this stuff will be, well, that's why I keep saying value your fucking voice, right? Like, all this stuff is being accumulated. When we go look at stuff on the internet and we find 8 or 9 websites that, like you said, like started out, and then first there was 2 or 3, and then there was a dozen, and then there's 13, and then there was 100, and then it went down to 50, and now you've got valid info on that whole spectrum. That's just going to continue on into the future, except that be easier to index, and as that stuff gets indexed, it'll be whatever's cached, and all this stuff that we're doing will have influence on the future potentially. Especially like you say, if you tag it and you create it with intent so that it can be found, then it's even. I mean, I can't even tell you. I've been playing around with trying to sell some of the old websites, and I go look at some stuff that is 16, 19 years old and still is there because I did it 18 years ago and I did it right. And yeah, like you still search for like some lakes and stuff, and I still rank. It's like, come on, this site hasn't even been live for 13 years and I still rank because nobody's come along and taken that specific search away from me. I can put that website back up and rank for massively long tail, unique specific search, but depending on how big the internet gets and how long things go, there's no such thing as long tail anymore. But anyway, we're talking about the web and we're talking about conversation in 2A, and you're talking about gun rights policy on that thing too. And then right in the middle, like out of nowhere, Clover lashes out and he like accuses everyone of not supporting him enough, and like how he has to spend his own money to go to this policy. He's doing this for the Second Amendment and it's our fault. And I'm like, oh, like what's going on? So that part's frustrating too, because like every time I reach out, I'm like, hey, you going to Gun Rights Policy Conference next month? Because now it's like pretty close. It's gonna be this month, but I've been doing it all this month, and I only got people I already knew were going. There's only people that said they're going. Everybody who I was hoping would be going, or is like super.
Well, I found out. Well, I don't know if you know this. I found out that Dan, the owner of Sporting Systems up there that Yankee deals with, he's going.
Yeah, I knew that.
I don't know if you knew that, but
yeah, I'm looking.
Found that out today. So,
there's still some people that I don't know that I want to know, but I don't know them, so I haven't I don't have an email to email them. But I guess there's a couple of people now I'll be bugging to find out, hey, do you know anybody on this list? Because I want to find out if they're going. But that's like people from like the guy that runs the Minnesota gun owners or something. Like I only know of him and follow his feeds. He's got a great feed on Instagram, but I never chatted with him, I don't think. I think I might have approached him on Instagram and said, hey, would you do an interview, and then never followed up with him. So if he said yes, I did. But so I don't even know. I don't know him enough to know if he's gone to Gun Rights. Now, there's other people who I don't have to ask, like Aaron.
Right.
I assume Aaron's going, but she's been to everyone I've been to and more.
Right.
So I'm not going to bother. But you know what I'm saying? Like other people, I just don't know if they're regulars or not. But okay, so anyway, there's the regulars who, it's frustrating to hear some regulars aren't going. Now, first off, there's stupid ass NSSF who sucks just as much as they're good. They're like, they got the same NRA issues that NRA has.
Right.
Sometimes. And then sometimes I do not agree with them at all. And this is one of them. And they came up with their marketing freaking seminar on a Thursday, Friday. So first off, the hell? Who else does something on a seminar for business people on a Thursday, Friday? It just seems stupid. If you're going to do it on the beginning of the week or do it on a weekend. But a Thursday, Friday just ruins everybody's everything. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and it's in Georgia. So it's not like anybody's going to be like, oh, well, I'm already here. I'm going to stay in Georgia. Or if it is, it's like a desperate attempt to manipulate those people to want to stay in Georgia for 2 days. Who the hell wants to go to Georgia for the weekend? Especially, I've never even heard of this place. It's not like someplace I've ever even heard of in Georgia.
St. Simon's Island.
Well, let me throw a little maybe conspiracy theory almost in with that. Is it possible that some of these large organizations do stuff like that because they try to make it so unattainable in a way that only their most loyal status quo followers that are going to lockstep with them, whatever. In other words, that cuts down the idea of new blood and people that are going to go against old ideas and that sort of thing. In other words, it's done on purpose.
Well, hold on. So now there's also that same weekend is the NRA board meetings. So the NRA board has a separate meeting than at the membership meeting. And the NRA board meets, they're like little secret meetings. They do that in Alaska for whatever reason. So they're doing it in Alaska so that number one, they all board gets to go to Alaska, probably some fancy place. And then number two, everybody who wants to go bother them has to fly to Alaska. So they get to waste money, and everybody else has to waste money if they want to go bug them. So there's going to be some amount of people that are going to want to go and feel obligated to go to NRA board meeting and bug them. And you know what's going to happen is the NRA board is going to go, we're closing our doors, click. And now all those people, out of principle, had to go to Alaska, otherwise they wouldn't be fulfilling their obligation to their organizations or their whatever their goals. Just bullshit, because they know they're going to get locked out. They're going to waste all that money, and it's like it has to be done just to fall on the sword or whatever. So whatever. So I guess, you know, there's that. So that's happening that same weekend. That I can say 100%. Of course they're doing that the same weekend, because there's no reason to do it any time of the year. They can do it whenever they want. It doesn't have to be done that weekend. There's nothing special about that weekend. The only thing special about that weekend is every single gun owners' rights group that isn't the NRA is going to be in Phoenix, and they know that. So they figure those people have to make a decision: go bother the board, or go work within the community that would care about bothering the board. So theirs is strategically done. NSSF, I don't think they give a shit. I think NSSF doesn't know what the hell is one end from the other. I think they're just oblivious as hell. They run around like they own the place, thinking that they're somehow shit don't stink, and that they're somehow necessary. Like they're, I don't know. I mean, I understand what they're for. I don't say I agree with them occasionally, and I disagree with them adamantly on some shit, because they're a huge organization and they're pointless. They're worthless. And I mean, like I say, they do SHOT Show poorly. Like they do it, but that doesn't mean it's like the best way it could be done. I've been going to SHOT Show for a while. I think I can suggest, you know, as a fair observer, that they suck at it, and it could be better. And I think that that's sort of like the NRA. You know, the NRA sucking it up for the last 30 years it's a disservice to the members, but it's a disservice to the Second Amendment in the country, because it could have been so much more, and it had the opportunity, kind of the responsibility and the obligation, depending on who you are, right? The NRA could have done. We could have been in a situation right now where people are respectfully reverent of what the Second Amendment gives us and why we live in the environment we live in, and we would be not in fear, but like respectfully, we would leave alone the Second Amendment out of respect, not due to fear, not due to like retribution or anything, but instead, you know, like the NRA, if they did an excellent job of education, everyone would understand guns the same way that we all understand a free press. There's very few people that are like demanding the removal of Microsoft Office because of the dangers of, you know, information and the crazy ideas and cartoons that make Trump look funny or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like that Second Amendment is the place it is because of the NSSF and NRA not doing things. So I, you know, as much as I don't like them and like them or whatever, I don't know if they did this specific meeting, because I don't think they know about gun rights policy, honestly.
Right, that's possible.
They don't show up. They don't show up. They don't care. They don't see any reason to merge industry with people who are trying to maintain awareness and activity on the, you know, the awareness and the freaking activism to keep the rights protected by the Second Amendment. So, you know, that keeps their industry alive. Where, again, that's one of my problems with the NSSF. So I told them, you know, of course, I bitched at him on Instagram or whatever, and the one guy who says in his profile that he's like NSSF media, so I'm guessing he's, you know, partially involved with running their Instagram feed or whatever. And he must know me, because I bitch at him about their child safe thing all the time, whenever they harp on it too much. But anyway, I thought it was oblivious more than hateful or intentional, because really the people that are going to the media thing aren't going to gun rights policy. Now, on the other hand, I'm not going to give them a pass on that. Like, maybe pay attention next time, shrug my shoulders and say, "Aw, shucks," because fuck you. you should be encouraging the industry to send their marketing people to gun rights policy. You should be doing some sort of let's teach the two-way media, and let's finance and empower the two-way .orgs, right? And then let's do workshops and let's teach. If we can sell somebody another fucking version of a dumb gun they have 6 of already, and we can turn brands into lifestyles and stuff. Maybe we can help the 2As with their messages, and maybe the 2A messages can get involved into the industry at a level where, like right now, they've been influenced by stupid anti shit, like having the stupid extra 2 rounds half the time, depending on what state you live in, because some idiot thought that if you take 2 rounds and save them, and the cops kept them in a safe somewhere, that crime would happen, or crime would stop happening. And nobody challenged these idiots on this. And now, like, the industry has just become so accustomed to it that I suspect there's an entire generation of shooters that don't even question why they get 2 brass cases in there, or just have made up some Fantasyland story based on, what they think someone might have said to them once when there's just that whole part of it, like stupid warnings and all that. Like, there's so many ways that we've allowed the industry to be influenced without like any intent and without any objection, really. And all I'm saying is, if we actually intended to, if the industry put some effort and some direction into some influence, we've got the ability. I mean, we've got people that can sell you a whole nother thing just because it's different color, different size, or whatever.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm frustrated with that. But at the other hand, what the hell? If it was easy, then it would be easy. Then it'd be over, and then we wouldn't profit, man. We wouldn't be making all this money.
Right. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, that was part of my, rant that I got off on earlier, and that was part of my push with, just throwing it out there and seeing if anything would stick, when it come to that, was, to try to bring some awareness, and why is the industry not working with the activists, and particularly the activists that are active? And, I still think there can be, I think there's room. You've got a lot of industry that they don't make bold public moves even, or the vast majority of the industry. I mean, think about 10 different companies within the firearm industry, and then consider, do you know whether they're actually do anything pro 2A or not? Anything at all? And I would argue that the vast majority of the industry, there's a few companies lately that's come on my radar as opposed to Washington and I-1639. But, outside of that, I know that, there's companies that do good things and they support a lot of the youth organizations and shooting sports in general and some stuff like that. But straight up 2A, I don't know of, I don't know of many at all. I mean, there's not many that come to mind. And so that's fine, because they may play that, close to their best, or, whatever you want to call it. And from a business standpoint, okay, I kind of see that move. I kind of get that. They don't want the hassle of all of that. But I mean, being able to branch out and align with other 2A activists and elements within the creator sphere, let's call it, or whatever, that's in a way, I mean, that's supporting 2A, and that's sort of a guerrilla marketing thing or whatever that they're contributing to. It's not a direct thing.
I think you're looking at the situation and like extrapolating, is that the word, like a situation to it, or like a scenario for it. Right. But I don't think that, at least in my experience, I can't think of any company that has any apprehension about waving a flag that says I'm 2A, like I'm pro 2A. You think of like gun shops and stuff, they'll have little plaques on the wall. back when there used to be like little league teams or like a high school shooting club or something that they were sponsoring, or whatever, they would get like a little plaque of recognition or something, or maybe like a veteran's motorcycle ride or something for a vet or something like they're typically more than happy to do it. I think though that it's one of those things you can't like scorn somebody for not knowing that there's the potential, right? First, a lot of times you gotta put something like a system or a mechanism in front of somebody, and then say like, hey, could you ever thought about doing this? Like, if you were to blah 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 publicly, then such and such would happen. And I agree with you 1,000%. Obviously, we're drinking the same Kool-Aid here. Not only would just a relatively few people in the industry need to throw a relatively few number of dollars at a relatively few number of people, but that relatively little amount of influence or resource thrown at something specifically like the Gun Rights Policy Conference. And, if something like hundreds of dollars, which is probably what we're talking about, maybe let's say thousands, but, not even like tens of thousands, just a couple of $1,000s probably is the difference between, I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but there's a couple of people who have said like, I can't afford it, or like, can you go? There's been people that have been like Tony Simon, who's like, no, I can't. I don't have any more time free from work. That was his answer. Where other people are like, I just don't have the money, or like, I don't know what it is. What is it? So if somebody's going to say, I don't know what it is, what is it? That's different than saying, I don't have the time because I can't, or like, I'm already doing something on that weekend. Like, there's other ways to answer it. So that tells me that, of the people I've asked, there's a couple of them that have said, oh, what is this? Like, I didn't know it was on my radar or whatever. So if it was something where, again, a relatively few could throw a relatively little at a couple of people, and I think that it can accomplish a lot, because the couple of people that I'm talking about getting there are either new to the scene or don't understand the influence that they particularly have on what I consider to be the next group of gun owners, which is the females and fucking new people to shooting. I mean, there's no way to categorize them other than like not the normal, not the big fat white guys that got taught by our parents. Like this, all the new people are coming in are not being taught by their parents, and they're not already comfortable with guns. So women are coming into it from a completely different way than a gamer, and they're coming into it a completely different way than dad in the urban area or whatever the hell you were supposed to say, and they're coming at it differently than a first generation United States citizen who's taken advantage of their freaking liberty, right? Everybody's coming at this a different way, and it's silly to suggest anybody's is going to address any of those things, or in a one way address any of them or all of them or whatever. But again, if you've got a relatively few number of people who can get motivated and show up at something like a gun rights policy, and it's driving me nuts because I don't want to get too specific, but the person I'm talking about who has evidently chosen to choose the fucking boring, I hate the boring, like, established way of doing shit. And this person has taken the established way of doing stuff and just following that path. Like, oh, affiliates, great, that's what I'm doing. Oh, specific brand endorsement, sounds good. Oh, here's what I got offered. What do I do? Like, I just don't see that that's necessary when we're talking about somebody like Rachel Malone, who saw an effort need to be done, did grassroots effort, was recognized by the community for her efforts in getting what was she trying to do, constitutional carry in Texas. And then whenever she got into a situation where her Second Amendment position cost her job, I think, to sum it up, I don't know if that's exactly the way I say it or not, but in effect, gave her some whatever financial jeopardy. She's not working for Gun Owners of America. And I don't think anybody complains that Rachel Malone is on the payroll of Gun Owners of America. There's a shit ton of people that pay Gun Owners of America $30 to do stuff like that. And there's people that are out there today that are doing not the same thing as Rachel Malone, but are equivalent to Rachel Malone's in different areas of the world, that it's silly to watch them stumble or effort or try to do the strategies that worked for Hickok for 6 years and now have worked for such and such marketing. It's just, in other words, it works for like some company who comes in who has marketing knowledge and decided that guns are an industry with not enough with little enough competition, that it's possible to come in and with relatively few industry relationships provide reach a decent income with little effort, and she's going to be, or they're going to be competing with all that, and it just seems pointless. I mean, it's great, I guess, if you want to go do what a shit ton of other people have already done and just follow a bunch of steps.
Right. Well, I think one thing too, and you mentioned this a while back, but when you've got those people that talk about how they can't take off work or they don't have the time or something like that, I gotta wonder. There's a lot of people out there that don't like to let on that they just flat don't have the money. I mean, if they feel bad saying that, whether they feel bad because they want to look like they have more money than they do, or they just don't want to feel like they're e-begging, or they don't want to, whatever the case may be. And so I've got to wonder, even when you talk about the percentage of people out there that say they, oh, I just can't go for this reason or another, how many are actually just, they're making an excuse. And if you had some means of financial support available to help make that happen, how many more people would truly go? Because that's the root of the problem.
No, that's a good point. That's true. I mean, the people I'm thinking of specifically, it's about 50-50. Half of them, I just can only assume that money is not a consideration. They don't care about money. The other ones could easily be what you just said, and for whatever reason, just didn't want to lead with, oh, I can't afford that. What is it? I think they also don't know what it is. I mean, most people don't know what it is. It's a boring thing that isn't all that interesting. And I'm not suggesting that it needs to become a carnival or an amusement park for Second Amendment, and that a bunch of busty supermodels need to show up to give it a new makeover, right? No, I don't think that's what we're talking about. We're just talking about getting some specific people and key players who can create relationships with the organizations, either to funnel information from or to the organizations. Because I mean, how many conversations back when Gun Channels was thriving, let's say a year ago, it seems like, pick a time when there was just daily shows. Clover was still doing 3 shows a week, and there was live stuff happening quite a bit. People were jostling, and Edge was still doing a Friday show and stuff. Even at the peak of interest and activity with online live conversation, how unified or cohesive is it? Like, there's even with the channel lineup on a place like Gun Channels where everybody's like, figuring out the schedule from, like, even when there's stuff like the event calendar there, it's just, we're all humans and everybody's got their own like ability to track and focus and be aware. So even groups of people have that, like, limitations or whatever. So I guess I'm just getting at that we're never going to be like in absolute efficiency or anything, or absolute lockstep. But the more conversations, the more opportunity there is for people finding this kind of. Well, I guess I don't know where I was going with it, other than the same thing like I was saying before, with you can't expect a bunch of shops and industry to just know about this. You sort of have to do something to prime the pump, or do something to get the concept out there. And I don't think it's, hey, let's just get big brand names to this event. Let's get something like this. It's more like we're trying to get a goal accomplished, and we can do that with just a few things. and all we need to do that is some money, and it's not that much money. So do you know about 2A? Like, or do you know about the fights? Like, do you know about this guy? Because he does. Like, let's make sure he's here. Anyway, I think I started that whole thing with organizations themselves could give the individual content creators some awareness of like direction or fucking targets or areas of importance or whatever. But then the organizations themselves, I mean, they all suck. Like none of them are good at being online at any level, at anything. Like some of them are kind of getting good websites, and not good websites, just easier to navigate, boring, dumb websites that are basically equivalent of what Bloomberg's paying for, which I don't want to settle for that. I mean, I'm a website guy. I think that if anything, we should have the best content creators. We should have the best, most interesting websites, right? We should have the most data available. I mean, ideally, we'd have the John Lotts working with, I can't imagine who's got a really good website. I mean, I don't know. The big companies have efficient working websites, right? Websites that follow SEO and aircraft carriers on the web that can get information out there and have massive reach. And they have departments, literally dozens of people making sure that their websites work. And the gun owners' rights groups don't. They have garbage. For years, everyone on YouTube was larger than the industry and the gun owners' rights groups. There's people on YouTube that with very little effort can get larger than any of the industry, and anybody who's doing a project on a social media platform can get bigger than the organizations. The organizations just flounder. So anyway, as far as like getting people there, like I'm not about making it like a veteran photo op, like carnival shoot or something. But at the same time, getting a couple of key people there that can inspire, motivate, educate, and facilitate audience to some of these organizations that are worthy, but just fail at getting the word out and fail at, again, the workshops and stuff are just something that aren't part of it, and there's no reason it can't be, right? If the industry, NSSF, is going to have a 2-day event where they get the entire industry, or at least the cream of the corn of industry, to throw all their money at all their marketing people, to throw them in Georgia for 2 days and talk about marketing, come on. You can't make that part of the gun rights policy conference. So, I don't know. I'm hoping that I know you're doing it, but I'm going to give you the same freaking drill that I gave Gun Strike here. You see if anybody's watching that. Shows Jay Monty.
Jay Monty's driving right now, but he's out there listening.
It's just us three and Jay Monty. So I don't know in the bars. Are you making a big deal about this? Is it going to be like, let's fund and get a bunch of people to gun rights policy? Or is it just like, hey, let's make a couple $100?
As far as me?
Yeah, your Friday thing.
The idea was to try to, and I mean, I've got 2 or 3, maybe. I mean, it was well over 100 on each email list. I sent one email list, went out to, and there was some crossover, but one list went out to basically, it was 2 separately worded emails, but one went out to media, industry, writers, channels, that type of thing, and then organizations, and then the other went out to industry. And so the idea was to try to make industry aware and say, hey, come in, look at this, here's an opportunity that I think you're missing out on. And so the what they're going to be coming in really and looking at in a way would be those media activists, whatever, that are going, have plans to go, have been before, to basically come on at any time within that 4 hour block and talk about GRPC, talk about what their plans are for, going. It's, my first year, so all I can talk about is kind of what's going on in my head and the thoughts, and kind of some stuff that I've talked with some people that's going to be there, that we're going to follow up on some conversations once we're there, and some different things like that. To better give the industry an idea of, these are the type people that are out there doing things that allow you to do business the way you do business, right? So that's where some of my annoyance comes in when it comes to the industry, is that it seemingly, I mean, this is their livelihood, right? It can all be shut down, honestly, in an instant. And so, to just ignore, dismiss, or say there's absolutely no value in paying attention to 2A, or at least supporting those who do pay attention and fight that fight for the 2A, I think is extremely irresponsible as a business within that niche or that genre. And then the final component, obviously, is the audience out there, or, be it the industry side. I mean, that's certainly part of it, or, just the rank and file, the great people that we know that are out there, that, so many of them may be unaware of what's going on. And then those creators, activists, whoever else that may not be able to go for whatever reason that it might be, but to get them in as the audience side of things. And then, like I said, be able to hear these stories and, hey, what's going on? And, what do you plan on doing there? And what are you looking forward to? And what's been done in the past? And, and then transition and even talk about some of the projects that we've got going, and intertwine some of that with, not an e-begging thing, but I mean, to be able to say, hey, here's the ways that, you can support me, be it at the swag store, be it the Patreon, be it just a one-time PayPal donation, whatever, mechanisms that those people might have into play. I mean, maybe it's an organization and you join that organization, or whatever it might be. But, yeah, give a platform to those that know about and or are interested in GRPC, and then hopefully then be able to make a pitch in such a way that can garner some support from those that might come in on the audience side. But one of the keys, and like I said, one of the things I think that's frustrating is I don't know that, I've had, and the ratio that you get when you deal with people, and that's where networking comes into play. And we talk about sharing, and we talk about doing all of these other things. It's so very important, and people dismiss it so much, and they don't, and I don't necessarily hold them at fault, because I understand you've got your own things going, you've got like your life to live and everything else, and you can't stop, drop, and roll anytime somebody says, hey, I need some help with networking. But the whole concept of building bridges is is utilizing and those networking connections that other people that have that you don't. And it's not like I'm saying, hey, G-Web, send me I want your entire email list, or, hey, Alan Gottlieb, I need your entire email list, or whoever, Nice Strike, Carrie, Ghost, Budget, whoever it might be, right? Hey, I need your entire email list.
I'd be afraid if you asked for carries.
Well, and then, regardless, I'm not getting into that. But my point is, we don't have to do that. Just we can share that stuff by proxy, exactly the way that I'm trying to do it now. Is like, just forward that stuff on is really all you have to do. You don't have to give me your, the names and numbers and emails of everybody within your network sphere. Just put that out there. And so, what's aggravating is that I've gotten 3, I think, commitments so far out of over 100. On that one side, and that's normal. That's not abnormal. But out of those 3, I can pretty much guarantee you none of those 3 have shared it or done anything. Now there may be people that did receive it and kind of
Where's
have
the
this,
nephew?
but it's still share it. Now I know for a fact I've had 3 or 4 people on the industry side share it. But when you talk about industry, we're not talking about just companies, just like companies you would see at SHOT Show. I did reach out to small gun shops. I reached out to local trainers. I reached out to, a wide variety of people, local, state, across the nation, whatever, um, because that's just kind of what's in my Rolodex is a wide variety. So I didn't really discriminate with that. If I felt that they fell into the industry in any way, and had their livelihood, made their living, anything 2A related, then they got that email sent to them.
All right. So I'm gonna give you the same shit I'm gonna give Night Strike. So then, first off, I already told you that emails me. So then, following up, you can't just drop an email on some people and then, everybody's different. Some people are into email, some people ain't. Some people get 1 billion, some people get 1. And then even with the best intentions, something happens, something falls down at the house, whatever. People get distracted and shit and forget about stuff. So you got to follow up, because you can usually turn 3% into 5 or 6%, right? Just by following up and touching base, especially when you're focusing on 100 that you knew about. But is that Night Strike saying that?
Yes.
Okay. So it would say somebody else's name if he typed in there? It just says GunTube on the one above it because you kept typing. It just didn't have to say GunTube again, I guess.
Well,
I was just trying to figure out how that.
The username I'm using is GunTube, so.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It just took me a second to figure out why it didn't identify who the second chat was.
Because on this chat, I'm identifying as GunTube because I'm working on GunTube.
Yeah, I got it. So I was just understanding it out loud for some reason. I guess what I'm getting at is whatever you're doing there, Clover, is I would follow. First off, I'd follow up, and then there's 2 other things, I guess. So saying here's what I'm doing is one thing, but then again, either following up if you haven't heard from them, or to clarify once you have heard back positively from somebody, to be like, so here's what we're doing. Like, we're blah, blah, blah. This is an awareness / motivation to get the industry to support the media, 2A media, that's there to focus on the, whatever we want to call the politics of it, or the matters. So, so you're trying to not just say, hey, come to our thing on Friday, but instead like, hey, we're trying to start a whole new thing here. Awareness / call to action to motivate people to be financially involved in this whole thing. So then the reason I'm saying, number one is to let people know, again, more refined, like what you're trying to do or whatever, and give them another angle in case the initial angle fell flat. Like, I don't want to do a live show on Friday, right? Because I didn't know what it meant or something. But then I'm thinking of a couple of people who I think we both know, actually more than one, now that I'm thinking multiple people, and you must know other people too, but that if you sat down with them or took a minute with them and said, now that you know exactly what I'm trying to do, or like, now I've clarified a bit more of what I'm trying to do here, the goal of getting the industry motivated to pay for or help financially the media attend this, meeting of the organizations, so that, especially this year, so that, we get an engine started, so that we get a machine or a mechanism started where instead of the Second Amendment media simply observing and reporting what is happening, instead it becomes an influence that helps affect and helps to direct, right? Helps to motivate and helps to enhance or make our message more effective, or make our reach, or whatever we want to call our, unity or whatever, So in other words, we're trying to get not just media at an event, but we're trying to get specific people for strategic reasons to this particular event, this particular year. So again, that takes forever to explain or whatever, but I can think of a couple of people if you have that conversation with, and then you follow up with, now, which companies do you know that are down with this? Because there's a difference between a shotgun. Here's the thing, we're having a carnival. Please put out these $6 tickets. We're having a carnival. Everybody might like a carnival. A carnival might be fun for anybody, Maybe you're available that weekend. Remember my carnival, right? Here's $6 tickets or whatever discounts to my carnival. Like, we're not doing that, or you're not doing that, I don't think. Instead, you're like, hey, we need to talk to, like, this is down to the nitty gritty. We want to talk to people who are specific. We want to talk to gun shops who are motivated, that are tuned in, like that gun for hire in New Jersey, like Sporting Systems. You want to speak to gun shops who are like that. So when you have a conversation with somebody to say, hey, show up on Friday, it's not like, hey, can you show up on Friday because you got nothing else to do? But instead it's like, here's what I'm trying to do. What gun shops can we get there with us on Friday to make this happen? And that way you're not, what I'm saying? Like, you're not shotgunning marketing to the world and seeing what bounces back. It's like radar, but instead you're laser focusing on, with as much input and as much like collaboration as possible, laser focusing on a few individuals, hoping that some of the others who come based on that specific type of marketing, hey, we're trying to change the world here, trying to defend individual liberty and personal choices. Trump is scary. NRA is not something we can depend on. There's so much going on. We're trying to create filters to all the noise. We're trying to amplify important messages. We're trying to get the extract of what's necessary. We need a couple of people to help us with this so that it doesn't become just like a Jerry Lewis telethon for its first year. I mean, if this was 2008, some fucking year that don't matter, some fucking year. Okay, great. Let's start a Jerry Lewis telethon and try to get people aware of our Second Amendment rights when it kind of doesn't matter. But at the last minute, when we're about to go into 2020, and there's a bunch of people, and I'm kind of scared, it's off subject, but I'm kind of scared hearing some of the stuff from Republicans about how Republicans are nonchalant about gun stuff because they don't see gun stuff as having consequences. Or they're not too worried about gun stuff because what are you going to do, vote Democrat? And once they get into that mindset, we're sunk. So this is not necessarily dire, and we're not trying to say the sky's falling, but the other side of it, this ain't a year to just be like, hey, let's maybe if you want to show up to our new party, show up, because that's what I fear, is that people think, oh, it's just some other thing. It's just another whatever thing to make noise on a Friday. When I think there's more to it. I'm not so late for all that.
Oh, I agree with you.
Wow.
So I don't know if you see in the side chat there.
Didn't even know there was a side chat. There we go. Oh.
Like they would think of the couple that I'm thinking of off the top of my head that would like, it's internal or whatever, but that would know industries or individual businesses who might be like, oh, I love that. Here's $3,000, make that happen. Because $3,000 is enough to like get 7 people who are influential there. You know what I mean? Like, we're not talking like $10,000 because somebody needs to get airfare from Bolivia to some mansion or some weird shit. We're talking getting a couple of people in some hotels and some airplanes so that they can stand around and experience some stuff on an important year.
Right.
Anyway, and then I thought, well, says that his was more like, what's all that about? I think he said it was like time from work type of thing, but not as much as Tony Sion.
Yeah.
But I got the impression that like with I didn't want to bug them or guilt them because it's not like, it's not like, oh, okay, we get everybody there and like, bingo, we won the Second Amendment. Wayne LaPierre gets ousted and
Right.
Trump learns a lesson. It ain't just over or nothing. Everybody's still got to go there and work and stuff. And what if we go there and everybody's a bunch of mopes this year? I mean, unfortunately, because of the whole nature of this thing, one of the things that frustrates me about it is we don't know what's going to happen until we get there. Literally, there's no indication. I still don't think they have the list of actual speakers for the event. We barely know the speakers for the 2A summit the day before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. And then, but whatever. So if we would have had some sort, if part of the event is some warm up like intros, a month out, 2 months out, like you're telling me the industry doesn't have that kind of resources to do something like a month ahead of time, just to let people know it's coming and prepare, and again, so that the industry can understand that it's a valid thing that people should get to and be aware of. Unless it's done in secret for some reason I'm not aware of.
Right. Yep. Well, I mean, it's one of them things. I mean, whatever. If it doesn't turn out, it doesn't turn out. If it turns out great, it turns out great. But I mean, you can war game and you can second guess and you can beat stuff to death and you can do whatever. But at the end of the day, you've got to just do it. You've got to, you know what I'm saying? You've got to rip that Band-Aid off. You've got to give it a try. The Nike slogan, just do it. I mean,
I'm not just doing it. This is my third or fourth year. I'm trying to not, I'll go to SHOT Show and experience it. Like I don't feel like going to SHOT Show. I need to, like, there's nothing about it that's like, people aren't aware of this. Like, be careful. Like it's, there's been years like that, and I wasn't like singularly aware of something. There's been years where there's been like the brace, which Clover also is one of the throwaway braces. He doesn't have any. So
ban them all, man. Ban them all.
Back in the brace day that year, when I was 15 or whatever, like, there was that, but that was with everybody or whatever. But anyhow, what am I trying to say? I don't know. It's a culture thing. It's just it's an awareness thing, and it's I guess it's just the word awareness. People didn't give a shit about wearing orange until the industry made an effort to put orange out there, and there's people who can look at that and go, "Oh, the company that made orange jockeyed the position so that blah blah blah, so they could sell orange or whatever." Or you could look at it from the thing like, people were trying to get rid of guns in this country, and they were suggesting that hunting was too dangerous and that blah, 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 we should get rid of these sniper rifles. And then the industry said, wait a minute, you're suggesting this is too dangerous? What, because of whatever, blah, 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 I'm mistaken? So what if we just start wearing this obnoxious orange color and then encouraging people to do that? And then we make this big stink about it, and then use our own, whatever marketing engines, PR, to make people aware of what we did on our own.
Right.
And same thing with like steel shot. I mean, the hunters do it all the time. Like whenever they get persecuted for something, they what is that called? Like they'll do something good, more good things. It's not like they just do one good thing and quit doing it. They add more good things to their pile, and then they pay attention to it. They what's that called when they virtue signal their own efforts or whatever, because that's how they win. Like, done. Like, oh, we don't like hunting. That's why we got rid of lead shot. Like, that's why we shoot steel now. What are you talking about? Like, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's why we spend blah, blah, blah money on conservation. That's why we have all this land and blah, blah, blah. And that's how, blah, blah, blah. And that's why we wear orange. Like, every time they got attacked by stuff, buds, they know how to get out of everything.
Mhm.
But I don't know. I don't think it's the same with this stuff either. Mr. Complicit over there, he's also into compromising. He's super compromised now. Compromised Clover, they call
Sure.
him.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I think that was your chat where you were in there talking about compromising.
I was.
Well,
You were saying something
compromise
about-
Clover, heckling G-Webs,
He was saying something about you can't be too much like pro 2A or
Gotta
pro.
pay for the. I gotta pay for Air Flood 1 somehow. So there you go.
But
Jet fuel.
anyway, I guess I can't go with it all the way to some extent, but I'm not going to try to say the sky's falling, I guess, either. But at the same time, the significance of what we're not taking advantage of. I don't know what the word is. Like, the not doing. Like, what's it called when you just don't do something and you lose the potential or whatever?
Procrastinate.
Like, no, because procrastinate implies that you end up doing it really quick at the last minute. But if we just simply do not take the opportunity, this is like the worst possible year to not take the opportunity. So
Ignore.
Yeah. So, well, it's not ignoring. Ignoring again implies. Well, I guess ignoring assumes that you do know and you're choosing to not pay attention. But anyway, if we were to not put effort into shaking people by the shoulders and saying, hey, this is important, and this is the first year we're doing this, but we're not saying it's important because it's never been done before. We want you to participate in this unknown project. It's just that, with some thought, this is a thing that can be done, and we're a month away from it, and we need help getting a couple of people that are in key positions to talk to the next generations, which is important. Nobody in the industry who's actually in the industry and not just exploiting it. There's certainly people that are exploiting the industry that are just selling a t-shirt every week or just selling, whatever the last model of attachment for a rail system or color of a scheme or some kind of finish coat or engraving or whatever. People that are doing superfluous things that are just there for people's 7th or 8th gun. Like, they don't give a shit about the industry. They might care about the industry, but there's just as much chance that they don't give a shit about the industry, right? But there's certainly, and there's people in the industry that do care, that are dedicated and whatever, and they can understand the importance of where we're at. And I guess I was getting at, they don't need to be told that, there's new, what's the word, markets or whatever, like the women, the young shooters, and whatever, however you want to break it down. Every industry's got their own issues and their own potentials, right? Like shotgun shooting and hunting and competitive shooting. Like, every time I listen to somebody new, is a new podcast or a new chat or I'm discovering new parts of the community out there. So as much as everyone's frustrated because maybe their parts are dwindling or apparently dwindling, I mean, more than likely, most likely, they're just not looking around. They're just not aware or don't know how to look up and look around. But seriously, the sports and stuff, there's tons of stuff out there. So when someone quits doing 3-gun, does it mean they're out of guns, or does it mean they went over to trap shooting? Did they quit hunting? Did they quit doing guns, or are they now collecting milsurp? I mean, it's possible that there's no way to know any of that. But anyway, I guess I was getting at that if we're going to be approaching some key industries or key individuals in the industry or whatever, they're not going to need to know the urgency. They're going to understand. And I don't think we need to try to market to the world or to everybody in our Rolodexes. I think we could be smart about it and just be like, I mean, we can talk off air about the people who are on a short list of who could go but can't afford to go, or who should be there and for whatever reasons they're not planning on being there. And then once we have an idea of who we're talking about, then we pretty much know how much we're talking about, right? whatever the hell. It can't be more than a couple $100 per person. And then when we were talking about turning around and saying, where are we going to find funding from? Now we know it's $2,000 or it's 20 grand or it's $200, right? It's a lot easier than just reaching out to the world for some unknown amount of money and then figuring out how to divide it up later. But if we figure out it's $2,500 and we can talk to a couple of people and go, look, we need to get $2,500 in a month to get people the gun rights policy, that's a lot different than saying, let's just meet up on Friday, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think you'll get more, whatever, at least somebody will have to listen to that in an email, a specific email, and go, yeah, fuck you. Like, I don't care about you and your Second Amendment.
Right.
I got for that.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, even what I've got rolling, I mean, that doesn't have to be an ending point. I mean, it can be a starting point to it all as well. It's not like it has to all be over come Friday.
I don't know. Here's the other thing, just to play devil's advocate. You don't want to have like 100 of them. You don't want to have one every week. Then,
well, no. I'm not talking about having something else like that even, but you know, I mean, you could still build off of that and follow up with other things that are along the same lines, but not the exact same. You know, maybe a more targeted approach like you got. Maybe after that, with reaching out, I mean, we've identified more. We have an idea, and then we can reach out and say, hey, you know, yeah, now we've got a number in mind, and we know what needs to be done.
I can get there for $1,800, $1,750 if I don't eat lunch on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Night Strike's going to take his GunTube money, start traveling, from what I understand.
No, I'm not. I actually sold the rifle, so I was able to get the money to get the plane tickets. So that's what's going on there.
What rifle?
Just an AR-15 I had lying around.
So you could have disassembled that, taken it onto the plane, gotten a free flight all the way to wherever you wanted to go. Probably a bundle of money.
Mm-hmm.
Things work different in your head than mine for some reason. I don't know what it is, but you just got that spark of imagination. I just don't have that.
So I'm able to get things done on the cheap.
Right.
I'm only kidding, but yeah, I wanted to go to Gun Rights Policy Conference, and I said I was going to go this year, and I just figured, you know what, I might as well just get off my ass and do it.
Mm-hmm.
So
I missed it too, and I'm like, I'm not again. No.
Well, right now it's in a place where if I have to stay with family, I have that option to stay with family. I don't necessarily want to, but again, because Chandler is pretty far from where the Sheraton is in Phoenix. But again, I figure, I might as well, even if I have to stay with family, you know what? Why not?
Yeah, a lot of the hotels we were looking up for like $50 a month or $50 a night or more. So for $35, I will bring up like a box from like a wash machine or even a refrigerator.
I'll take
have that near the hotel for you.
I'll take it. I need a only
empty Gatorade.
Only if it comes with a Sears and Roebuck catalog, so I can decorate.
Like there's what do they call them things? An IKEA in Phoenix.
That'll work. That works. IKEA catalog works. Yeah.
I've got an old J.C. Penney's catalog. If you want.
That works too. Yeah, that'll work.
Ozzy is saying I wouldn't last long in prison, and that's probably true. I wouldn't. So let's not think about those unpleasant things. Because I'm trying to do things.
You ever go to prison, you just find the biggest dude, the strongest dude in prison, and you make a website for that guy. And once you've got an agreement with that guy, everybody else respects you.
Right?
Is that how it worked for you?
Make a website. That's new prison slang,
Yeah.
I guess. Make a website.
I think I saw that movie too. What was it called? The new website. That's what it was. Oh, that's great. That's great. So we've been streaming for about an hour and 45 minutes.
Cool.
So, and it's been working. I rented a small server somewhere else, not on the GunTube servers, and it seems to be panning out. So, well, let's see what happens. Either I'll go with this service or I'll go with a different service. But hey, if this works, then why the hell not?
That's what I always say.
So, and if it's working, then people can use it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's what it's all about.
This will render into a video on GunTube.
On YouTube first, and then I'll just transfer it over to GunTube if I want.
Oh, so this thing that we're in is just streaming a feed to YouTube, and then it's going to render. This has nothing.
No,
to do with
the only thing
side.
GunTube is doing is hosting the chat.
You can't make it so that the thing goes to GunTube also, so we're not live on GunTube right now.
That's why I need the coder.
Where are we live at?
We are live on the GunTube YouTube channel.
Well, I didn't know that.
So it'll be a video on YouTube.
Well, it notified you were entering a live stream when you joined.
Okay. Didn't mean knew that.
Yeah,
That was weird. What happened?
So,
did you hear that?
Live streaming is on, is what it says.
I'm not even subscribed to GunTube. How horrible is that?
You are an awful friend. I'm kidding, by the way.
But I'm there now.
But I'm pleasantly surprised with the rental right now. So if this works as well as it does with everybody else, then might keep it around.
Right.
G-Web's typing.
Yeah, click. Sound like a Clydesdale. Keeps jumping back. It says GW and then it goes to his icon. That's kind of weird.
I just did that when I flipped the camera on and off.
Yeah, you got to flick the camera off in order for it to, even if your camera's not working, make sure you have the camera off. Otherwise, it'll either give you that or, like mine, it'll give you
the gray screen.
gray screen. Well, because I use OBS Studio.
I've got XSplit, yeah. So XSplit creates a virtual camera. So now everything I connect to like this, there's no camera on this computer, but everything I connect to now connects to XSplit's virtual camera. And I just go into the XSplit software and take the JPEG or whatever that normally would say XSplit software and replace it with my logo. So whenever it goes to its virtual camera, it defaults to some folder that has this JPEG in it, and I renamed my logo. So it's my logo up now.
Gotcha.
But that is doing something. It is pulling resource to try to pull a camera, even though it's a virtual camera. So that must be resource on my machine and on his end, at least a little bit. And if I did this, I don't know if it makes my voice any different, but now it should be less resource on both ends, really.
So
now over here, I can still do that thing. And
I'm using the OBS camera, so I'm using OBS to do this whole chat thing right here in the window here, so I could, use the lower thirds and stuff if I want.
It's still using Gravatar for the other part.
Yeah, you're still using Gravatar for pulling the avatars. So you got to set your name and your email address in the profile setting. So, but it works. So, all right, I'm gonna turn the camera off.
Yeah. So when I said my Gravatar address in there, now it's pulling my thing from Gravatar. Gravatar is just a website you go to, and then you put an email address in, and you put an image there, and then places like this will use that to reflect an image.
Yeah, a lot of forum software also use it as well.
Yeah, forums or anything that needs a sign-in that doesn't want to provide their own database image software, which is a pain in the ass.
They don't want to use their own storage. That's what it is.
Well, imagine pain in the ass. You'd have to have a user system that keeps track of passwords and all the maintenance of that just for that stupid image. So they let some other third party take care of all
that. Wow, J. Monty. That got dark quick. He said unauthorized hot dog sandwiches are made in prisons. Wow.
Maybe that's where Midnight gets his crazy ideas about what's a sandwich and what's not a sandwich.
Well, I'd like to know, how did he get there in the first place? Was he a prison cook at one point?
Visits.
Visits.
He just goes in and is like, what criminal can I visit today? And they give him like this big list, and he just starts visiting criminals like that.
I guess.
I think there's websites devoted to that now.
I think there are too.
Seriously, I think there is.
I think you get a prison wife that way, right? That way you did get like some girl that had to be faithful and everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know where she is all the time.
Right, exactly.
You only have to go visit her once in a month or whatever it is.
Yeah, definitely wouldn't have to worry about her being with another man.
No, maybe the guards, but
right.
somebody with a job.
Okay.
It happens. It happens a lot. I know people around me. I know one woman in particular that married a dude in prison before he got out of prison. So.
I can understand it, like, before the internet, people would be like, I want to talk to somebody, and I got crazy ideas, and everybody around here thinks I'm crazy. So then you had, like, pen pals, or you get on a CB radio or something, or a shortwave.
Right.
You talk to somebody, and be like, oh, I don't think your ideas are crazy. I understand what you're saying. Now we got the internet, so we can be like, I like Second Amendment. And if everybody around you is like, that's crazy, now you can go find people that like Second Amendment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, if you like something weird, I don't know what kind of weird shit people like in prison.
I think cats are delicious.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's a weird ass thing, and then it's like, oh yeah, I'll eat cats, sure. Like, I'll talk to you. Like, you're talking to me? Yeah, I like whatever you like. I mean, I'm sure people in prison like whatever the hell weird people want to talk to prisoners like.
Right.
With somebody to talk to, right?
Right. Yeah.
We were saying that the other day, like, Armament was getting all mad about prisoners. I'm like, getting mad about prisoners getting mistreated. I'm like, dude, you're a prisoner. What else you got to worry about? He's like, I can't believe they worry about their mashed potatoes or whatever. Like, dude, what the fuck else you got to worry about? You're a prisoner. Of course you worry about every little freaking thing. Like, I don't like the color of mashed potatoes. Like, of course.
Right.
What are you going to do? Right. Not like the channel of television.
You don't really have a lot of bigger problems,
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, I care about politics. Nope. I care about
not like I'm late for work or how I'm gonna pay rent or my car broke down. I don't really got to worry about that stuff.
It's a whole mash of different problems.
Right. They, I hear my wife talk all the time. They fabricate. I mean, it's worse than just little, complaining about little things. I mean, they literally fabricate problems. The prisoners where she works.
Oh yeah, just make up stuff, just to have something to complain about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Either someone to blame it on or somebody to pay attention to them.
There's no, dude. like there's no consequence, right? You're in jail. What else is there?
Right.
Hey, you're causing trouble. Like,
We're gonna-
okay.
Yeah, you're in
We're gonna-
jail. How much further can you get in trouble otherwise? You know?
Hey, shape up, or we're going to put you in more jail.
Yeah.
Right?
You're in here for a long time. We're going to leave you in here for longer. Like, oh no.
Well, unless it's like some of those jails which have like what is it, the whole?
Guess what? I still don't like the color on mashed potatoes or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like,
Now I'm complaining because I don't actually have a bed, so caught on the floor. So,
Well, you know, you're just gonna have to deal with it.
but at the same time, I was trying to acknowledge too that we have way more people in prison than anywhere. Like not just number of people in prison.
Yeah.
We have more people in prison than China. So think
Oh,
about it. China,
Even
has
Russia?
more people. China has more men of fighting age. So that means more men between 18 and 36. So there's more men between 18 and 36. Not men and women, just men. And not just all men, but just men between 18 and 36. There's more men of fighting age in China than there is our entire population of 360 million people. So there's more people in China in just one segment, the fighting age men, than there is in our whole country. And we've got more people in prison than China, period. Like
I feel like you're being sexist against the Chinese.
We've got 2 million people in prison. They've got 1 million. They have so many more people than us. It's insane. We have twice as many of our people in prison. The percentage of it is Russia's the next one is a percentage, but because Russia has so many fewer people, there's fewer people in prison in Russia.
right.
But like our ratio is something like 700, it's the high 600s to 700 per 100,000. Russia's was like 600 or 400. The next countries are like 200, and then most countries on the planet are like 70. So most countries on the planet somehow have 70 out of 100,000 people in jail. 70 out of 100,000. We have 700 out of 100,000 in jail. We have 2 million people in jail. That's fucking double the amount of people that they have in China in jail. We have a shit ton of people in jail. And if you look at that on a chart, like a calendar, I should say, that all started in 1976. And almost we went from normal, like the rest of the world, something like, 70 out of the 100,000, just some normal amount of people in prison until the middle of the 70s. And then we went to being the most people in prison, and it's been like that since. It's literally like a part of our culture at this point. It's ridiculous. And
So,
way more than all of that is just possession of something that wasn't in the crime. It was just possession of something, a gun, a knife, drugs, something.
There's also white collar crime because you remember a lot of our laws are different concerning businesses and things too.
Yeah, dude, they didn't just like all of a sudden a shit ton more people embezzled. No, the only thing that changed in 1976 was Nixon's drug war. There was no like war on people overdoing taxes or something.
right.
Oh, come on.
There wasn't like a bunch of Martha Stewarts doing weird stock stuff for
My hopes up.
$10,000 more than she should have and had to go to like fake prison.
I think it's number one. It's really petty stuff. That could be pretty easily fixed. And then, there's also, I don't know. I mean, I've got to think that with liberty and freedom comes sadly comes the liberty and freedom to be stupid as well.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is though, when you look at it, and I'm not saying I'm no expert. I've only barely looked at a couple of charts while we were in this chat the other night.
Mhm.
But since we just looked at them the other night, they're fresh in my head or whatever. But that when the graph or whatever that was like over the years, over time, we had a regular whatever like percentage or ratio of people in prison or incarcerated. And then when you look at the other countries, it wasn't as if big countries had more people in prison or countries of one type of political system or another had more people. So it wasn't like the free countries had more people in prison, because Russia was the second biggest and they're not free. And then China was still a shit ton of people and they're not free. And all the free countries were pretty low, because most of the countries were pretty low. So I didn't look specifically to see if the low countries, if the free countries were higher or not. But I mean, I don't disagree with you, but it's because we changed the playing field. When you change the rules, then all of a sudden what was legal one day, like you with your bump stocks, or I mean with you with your shoulder braces or your pistol braces, like you don't see no reason for them. You're going to make them illegal.
That's right.
Like, boom, yesterday they were perfectly legal. Tomorrow, boom, they're illegal. So that's where you all of a sudden get an increase in criminals. It's not because people became criminals. It's because you pulled criminality out from under them. And I think I don't know what happened in the 70s, because they started the drug war in like the 30s. I guess they just really kicked in during the 70s.
And they, for the longest, I mean,
the commies and shit.
Well, the war on drugs extended through the 80s as well, and then, I mean, even the 90s with DARE and a lot of stuff, and they're always messing with the drug schedule. There's always a new drug, synthesized or not, coming out, crossing over, catching fame, and there's always something new, and they're jacking with the drug schedules, and,
Well, you're right, because if it's hippies and marijuana, then they got a whole bunch of people for that. If it was whatever the bikers were doing, probably meth and pills or something, then they got all those bikers, and then you get the gangbangers and stuff, whoever the inner city drug distribution people are, you get them. You get a couple of the big time whatever, like the people that are transporting between cities. You start getting all those people in prison or whatever. But I think a heck of a lot of it, though, is just the mandatory minimums, and then well, this guy's got a lot of money, so let's find out what's going on with that, or let's pull him over. I guess also I was going to say, I don't know. I mean, there's more to it than just the drugs or whatever. But like you're saying with the freedom and stuff, maybe it has something to do too with, I don't know, probably something to do with reporting or just actually recording. Because like to suggest that we have all the data is ridiculous. So if you look back in time, we just don't have all the data. Not everything was written down. So we have what's written down, and then maybe some extrapolations based on, if we know this much happened and we have this much written down, we estimate this much probably happened, right? We project this much probably happened. But there's no way they actually know this is how many things happened in like 1918, right? Like, have some idea. So it's like that everywhere. And then there's countries like England now. I don't know the whole specifics, but if they haven't figured out the cause or the murderer, then they don't even count it as a murder or something. Like they got some weird way, because they have, broken ass European ways of law. Like they just do their shit differently. So they just don't even record some things that we record, because we give a shit about freedom and holding people accountable for shit. And we understand that, like, hey, if we can't figure out the culprit today, but we still take the fingerprints, then next week we might be able to catch the guy, right? So, like, we just do things differently. But so there's got to be some of that to it too, right? Like, we're suggesting that like we're safer or something. Maybe in the 70s we started calculating shit more. So it's not like we got more dangerous. We just started to actually get a more dialed in number than before. But I don't want to default to that either, because that's given playing devil's advocate for people who don't deserve that. Like they did some of that stuff intentionally to screw with populations, right? Like I don't believe that any of the gun laws or any of the drug laws or any of the business laws for that matter, voting laws, like a lot of that stuff is done to fuck with people. To keep people down or to mess with people or to make it difficult. So to suggest like, oh, well, it could be something else, like that's not given enough like responsibility or whatever. to the people that are doing it for shit reasons. And they don't even have to be racist to be like, I just want to make it harder for people to get a gun. Like, they could be doing that for some valid reason, like for some idiot reason, imbecilic reason. They think that that is somehow safer for the world. Like, if I make it harder for people to get a gun, they don't think about the specifics of, like, if they make it harder, they're making it harder for the people in the areas that are most dangerous to defend themselves. At the same time, giving more incentive to the bad guys to have firearms because it's so, that disparages of force or whatever.
Right.
Like, okay, if I know that the people in this area ain't going to have a gun, there's no way I'm going to fist fight them. I might be bigger than them, but you never know. They might know karate. So I'm definitely going to bring a gun. If I know they can't have a gun, I'm definitely bringing a gun. So where, in a different situation, somebody might say, like, oh, I'm not going to even be a criminal. If you take away any lethal force, they might be like, heck yeah, I'm going to be a criminal. Like, it's easy now. There's nothing to lose. Like, the worst that happens is I go to jail. There's, like, no lethal consequence to this. Cops get me, I just got to drop my gun. I'm done. Like, I don't have nothing to worry about. Like, except for a weird accident, there's no lethal consequence to being a criminal when you get rid of gun laws. When there's gun laws, little old lady who may or may not know what to do legally is going to be holding a gun at my head. That's scary as shit.
Right.
But anyway, when they're thinking about cities and countries like that, like, who knows what the hell numbers and all that, and who knows what numbers we were getting in the 70s.
Well, you talk about the data and stuff, and switch, not necessarily switch subjects, but I mean, it's similar. There was an interesting conversation yesterday, and the conversation was talking about talking about the economic. It was an NSSF report, and it was talking about the economic impact of basically the firearm industry. And so it got into conversation thinking about that, and then even drawing on that and expanding that. You could expand that to things, for example, because I don't think the report included, I think it was industry, I don't think it included like shooting sports or anything, but I know that economic impact with some of these large events that go on every freaking weekend, places, that has a definite impact on towns and communities and stuff with hotels and restaurants and other things. So you factor all that stuff in, and you figure, all that kind of stuff. And then, it was talking about the death toll when it comes to rifles being whatever the number is, 340. And this is all rifles. This is not just the AK or the AR, right?
And, for sure.
And so how small of a percentage that is. So if you actually take out all of the 300 and something a year, and then you whittle that down to whatever it might be, bolt, hunting rifles, this, that, and other, and you talk about something like an assault weapons ban or something like that, which is going to can affect obviously competition. It can definitely affect industry, and it can have, and then you extrapolate that out to potential economic impact and potential loss of life because of economic impact. Could it be a situation to where you just made things worse? You get where I'm going with that?
No, I was trying to figure out where Honda went. Say it again. Run through it again.
Okay. So you've got the economic impact of the firearm industry, of the shooting sports community, whatever, right? So you take into consideration how massive that is. The amount of jobs, the amount of revenue that's money that's switching hands here and there, everything in between. Then you take something like a piece of legislation, like let's say the assault weapons ban, right? And you put that in play. Well, if you talk about yearly death toll from all rifles, right? You're looking at 350, something in that range a year. So you take that 350 and you could whittle that down. I mean, that's a little more than one a day. So let's say 2 a day, right? But then you whittle that down, and you know that it's not all things that are going to be encompassed by the assault weapons ban. So whittle that down, and you figure, one a day or something like that. Then take those numbers, that economic impact, right? All that revenue, all the money changing hands, and all the different things that happen because that money changes hands and everything else. Then okay, I got to follow my train of thought here for a minute. So then you take that.
Keep going.
Yeah, no, I'm working on it. I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
All right.
So then you take that and you say, okay, well, if they put an assault weapons ban in place, right, to technically stop one death a day, by the time it's said and done, one death a day, the impact of that assault weapons ban economically with the industry, with shooting sports, with all the trickle down that happens and every other facet that's happening with, is it feasible to think that there potentially could be as many deaths or more because of the economic impact as there are as the actual rifles themselves that we just banned? Did that make sense?
Mind blown.
I don't know. It was part of a conversation, and I was like, once we kind of walked through it and stuff, I was like, that's pretty deep. I never thought about that, but it's interesting.
I was in there peeing. So this guy is suggesting that the gun industry is so dangerous that even though 300 people a year die just from one gun, just from one kind of gun. He's hiding the numbers of all the other guns. But even though he's saying just because of one gun is willing to kill more than a person a day, that if you got rid of that industry that's killing a person a day just out of hate and violence, that industry out of spite is going to kill even more people.
No.
We got to be afraid to kill this industry because then it'll even take out more people in the wake. If the industry isn't there, even more people are doomed.
God, you're killing me, dude.
No, I don't think so. I don't know if that's number one. They don't care. If they're the people that are like stop.
I'm not asking if you care. I'm asking, is that a feasible scenario?
No. I'm saying no because they
don't think it's feasible.
No, they don't care is what I'm saying. It's not an effective tool because they're the people that are willing to not have airplanes to save the planet.
I understand that. I'm not asking about using that in an argument. I'm just saying that was a conversation. Is that a feasible scenario?
No. I mean, you're saying that like because the industry would be affected so much that like more people commit suicide.
The money changing hands, people having jobs, all the other things, insurance loss, all the other things could not lead to one death a day. In a country of 350 million that is fairly free, it could. Yeah. You're saying that one death a day is not negligible enough that an economic impact could not pick up that slack.
Well, I mean, you can't value. You're not trying to say it's the industry's more valuable.
I understand we're way into the theoretical and spitballing, but I mean,
I know, but I'm saying
I see it being plausible. Not
just being the apples and apples. Like just because we're not going to suggest that like the industry, like it's any number of dollars is worth a life. So just to do apples and apples, like you take away a segment of the industry or the what do you call it? Like it's not the industry, it's the economy. So you take away this segment of the economy because it could be automobiles, it could be swimming pools, it could be stairs, right? You take away a segment of the economy, and you're saying that like you do it because of good intent, like we're going to save this number of lives, but you take away that part of the economy, and then there's going to be repercussions, consequences, and those could be more devastating. So, like I say, instead of making it money, I'll call it lives. So let's say that you take away a piece of the economy and the consequences are blah, 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 that this many people either go into poverty or into circumstances or have to work so much that they get tired and they fall asleep at the wheel, like whatever. And now there's more accidents and deaths and suicides, and there's more deaths. So apples and apples, there was 2 deaths a day. Now there's 4 deaths a day because such a big piece of the economy. No, I don't think it's valid because it's not that big piece of the economy. Like, honestly, the guns are not that big a piece of the economy. If guns were as big a piece of the economy as the antis suggest, we wouldn't have any of these fights. Like, there would not be these fights.
But you're also not talking that many deaths, is the point.
No, I hear you. But we're not talking that much in the industry. We're talking tens of thousands of people, maybe hundreds of thousands of people, but I don't even think it's that many, honestly, even with all the factories that did all assault rifles. Like, it's just not that many people because the companies do other things, of course. But here's the main thing. We live in a capitalist country of optimistic entrepreneurial people. So yes, in socialism or in like fascism, where like, oh, comrade, you were born to be a weapons engineer and we don't need weapons engineers, so now you got to shovel coal. Like, that would suck. But in the real world, like, oh, my cheesy, awesome, shitty, great, love it, hate it job gets taken away or lose it or whatever, people bitch and moan and then get another job. And we live in a free country and there's opportunities. So that factory got turned into a pig spam factory, and like, the trucks will be used for something. Like, everything about it will just get recycled, and or maybe the factory itself will get stuck there for a couple of years before it gets turned into a Walmart. But we don't live in a world where something affects like that and it's just devastating. We have a hole in that part of the economy. Like, we lost buggies and we just kept moving. We started making cars. So I think if something like that did happen, those people would just start making bows and arrows or air rifles or car engines or something else. But I'm optimistic. I just don't see things as being devastating always. I don't look at the ultimate negative side of stuff.
Well, and that's why I said I don't know that I would say that that's a. I don't know that I would say that's a possibility, but I mean, I can see that scenario being plausible.
Now, along similar lines, I've been thinking, I'm frustrated because I don't have the ability, but, like that Freedom Tunes guy, I've showed some of his videos or his cartoons before. He just does those, like, really kind of simple Charlie Brown level cartoons.
Yeah, Seamus.
That get points across. I'd like to be able to do stuff like that just because I think that's effective in getting the point across sometimes. But I've thought about how to do maybe a series or something on, life with your perfect gun control situation or your, gun control scenario, life after gun control. You see some of these things like from the early days of like the 50s or the 60s or something, like what life will be like in the 70s or life of tomorrow in the 50s. And, like what a kitchen will be like or what a car will be like or what a fucking job will be like or whatever. And, hey, here's what 2024 is going to be like without guns. And, like, show them fucking shithole Venezuela or, like, we seriously, like, what do they think? Like, you know what I mean? Like, just kind of try to do some scenarios of what the future might be like. I haven't really put too much effort into thinking about it, but I don't think there's really too many. I mean, is it possible to have a future scenario where, like, the United States is no longer individual citizens and somehow that's successful? Like, once you're manipulated, once you're told what to do, once you're, like, ordered, then you're just up to the discretion of the person that orders. And how long is it before that person steers you over a cliff or into a wall or just doesn't even put any effort in and it just sits there in neutral forever? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's when civilizations fail, is like when few or one person has control and they're idiots. That might work for a minute or two and then they ruin it. But what keeps us awesome is that no one ever has that. There's always consequences and the most somebody can do is hold the wheel for a minute, but no one owns that wheel. And we all know that. So once you have a future where that part is taken away and there is a way to tell us what to do, then, you know what I mean? Like, Do they think that people that give a shit, like, I don't know, they never read Ayn Rand, like they really think that people that are doing everything, once they're like told, hey, you don't do it that way anymore, like they're just going to be like, that's our only option, we got to do it your way. Like, nope, guess what, I can move, dummy. I don't have to live next to you, idiot. I'm going to go live somewhere else. And if that means live in a different country, guess what happens? When you make it miserable here, everybody leaves. So, you know, you get a bunch of people and you bully them and you change the laws. Are those people still going to live here, or do they leave? You know, is California shitty because it's doomed to be shitty because of the rocks or the beaches or something, or did they make it shitty and all the people that ain't shitty left?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to think of like how to do some scenarios of like, what do you really think you want in the future? Who do you think the gun owners are? Like, what do you think this is? Because I don't know. You know, some people I'm sure are like, oh, let's just, what is that called? Become a different country, secede. Like, yeah, what do you think happens when you secede, dummies? Like, you're at the whim of the rest of the country. California ain't gonna own us if they secede. No, they're gonna be our hostage. Like, they will have nothing unless the rest of the country offers it to them.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna bail, gentlemen.
I think I'm gonna kill it.
It's been fun, but it's nearly
blame
2.
Honda. I blame Honda. He didn't jump in here.
And
Nearly
he
2.
jumped in, then he left. But it seems to have worked. I'll mess with it again tomorrow, see if it'll work for hit or miss, and if it does, then score.
Right.
I guess they never miss.
Yeah. Very funny.
I'll catch y'all tomorrow.
All right,
See ya.
later, Clover. All right, we're cutting this one down. Thanks, guys, for watching and listening and commenting. We'll see you later.